It was an ordinary day, or so it seemed. The streets were busy with the hum of everyday life. People walked in and out of stores, exchanging polite greetings. The air was thick with the usual buzz of consumerism and routine. Angela stepped into the small, crowded convenience store. The fluorescent lights overhead flickering softly, casting a harsh glow on the products lined up neatly on the shelves. Her eyes scanned the shelves, picking up the essentials she needed. A woman on a mission, she thought nothing of the people around her. She didn't expect trouble. She wasn't a target, or so she thought. Dressed in a sharp-fitted red blouse that complemented her determined posture, Angela moved through the aisles with the quiet confidence of a woman used to being seen as a leader. Her natural curly hair, carefully styled, framed her face with pride, and the silver hoop earrings she wore added just a subtle touch of elegance. Her black jeans were perfectly tailored, adding to her polished and powerful presence. She wasn't just any woman walking through this store, she carried with her the weight of responsibility as the mayor of this city, though no one in the store would have suspected that. But as she walked, she couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching her. At first, it was just the usual people glancing her way, some curious, others preoccupied with their own business. But it wasn't long before Angela noticed a pair of police officers entering the store. The first officer, Officer Miller, was older, his demeanor stern and rigid, as if he already had a set idea in his mind about who the people in the store were. His younger partner, Officer Davis, was a few steps behind him, his eyes scanning the space with the silent judgment of someone who felt entitled to do so. Angela didn't think much of it at first. But something in the way the officers moved, something in their gaze, set her instincts on alert. Angela reached for a pack of gum, her hand brushing the plastic packaging with a soft rustle, when she felt a sudden presence beside her. Officer Miller was standing there, his cold, calculating eyes boring into her. The tension in the air wasn't obvious at first, but it was undeniable. The unspoken assumption in his eyes. It was clear. This wasn't a routine stop. This wasn't about asking for ID. This was about something deeper, something more uncomfortable. He didn't see Angela as a leader, as a powerful figure. He saw her as a target. He saw her as someone he could dominate, someone who had to be controlled. "Excuse me, ma'am. I need to speak with you." Officer Miller's voice was harsh, filled with an unwarranted authority that caused the hairs on Angela's neck to rise. She stopped mid-motion, her fingers still brushing the gum packet, and she slowly turned to face him. There was no friendly introduction. No, "How are you today?" Just a cold, judgmental stare. Angela didn't flinch. She had dealt with officers like him before, but today she would not be the passive recipient of their power. No, today was different. Today, she was no longer just a woman caught in the tide of everyday injustice. She was the mayor, and she would fight back. "I'm going to need to ask you to come with me," Officer Miller continued, his hand already outstretched, grabbing at her arm with force. The grip was strong, too strong, and it made Angela's blood boil. The younger officer, Officer Davis, took a few steps forward as well, positioning himself just behind Officer Miller, a silent enforcer of the unspoken power structure. The store had fallen silent, but Angela didn't feel the weight of their eyes. Her anger was quiet, like a storm about to break. She was calm, calm but furious. The officer's rough treatment didn't faze her outwardly, but inside, her mind raced. She wasn't going to be their victim. She wasn't going to be just another woman manhandled by men in uniform. "You're making a mistake," Angela said, her voice steady but loud enough for the officer to hear. She jerked her arm back, not out of fear, but out of an instinct to protect herself. The confrontation had begun. Angela's heart was pounding, but her pulse wasn't racing out of fear. No, this was different. The world around her seemed to blur. Time slowed. She was used to standing tall in the face of adversity, but today, her resolve was deeper than it had ever been. They wouldn't break her. Not this time. "You need to come with us," Officer Miller repeated, his tone taking on a more threatening edge. He wasn't listening. His mind was made up. She wasn't a citizen. She wasn't the mayor of the city. She was just a black woman to him. And that was enough to make her guilty in his eyes. But Angela wasn't just going to take it. Not today. Her body stiffened and she squared her shoulders, staring him down with a fiery glare. She could feel the second officer, Officer Davis, stepping closer. His hands were on his hips, the very definition of arrogance. "You better watch your tone," Officer Davis said, his voice rising with aggression as he took a step forward, his finger pointing directly at her chest. Angela's breath caught. She had seen this kind of thing before, the bullying, the intimidation. But this time, something was different. This time, she wasn't afraid. This time, she would not let them win. Angela's mind raced. The humiliation of it all. The unjust targeting. The power imbalance. But she had a card to play. She had one thing that would shift the entire dynamic. She wasn't just any woman. She wasn't just a victim of circumstance. She was the mayor. And it was time to make that clear. "I need to make a phone call," Angela said, her voice calm, almost detached. But underneath, there was a quiet fury burning. The officers exchanged a glance, clearly unsure of what was happening. They didn't understand who they were dealing with. Officer Miller hesitated, but allowed her to make the call, though his face betrayed skepticism. Angela pulled out her phone, dialing the police chief without hesitation. She made the call, speaking just a few words into the phone. "I need the police chief here, right now. Bring the documents confirming my identity." The tension in the store reached its peak. The officers' faces began to change, though they still didn't understand what was happening. They had no idea who she was. Minutes later, the sound of car doors slamming outside echoed through the store. The door opened, and the police chief walked in with a couple of senior officers. Their faces were stern, but as they saw Angela standing there, her hand still gripping her phone, everything changed. The truth hit them like a hammer. "You arrested the mayor." The police chief's voice was sharp, filled with the weight of authority, but there was a shift in the air. The officers, now realizing their mistake, stood frozen. Angela didn't flinch. She didn't shout. She didn't gloat. She stood still, her gaze unwavering, her shoulders square. The truth was undeniable. And in that moment, it didn't need to be said again. Angela Whitaker was the mayor of the city, and they had tried to arrest her. The atmosphere in the store shifted, but not in the way Officer Miller had hoped. The officers now faced the consequences of their actions. Officer Miller's face was pale as the realization sank in. His hands trembled slightly, and his eyes darted between the police chief and Angela. Officer Davis, too, stood stunned, the arrogance replaced by shame. "You're dismissed," The police chief turned to the officers, his voice cold and final. We'll be reviewing this incident thoroughly. Angela didn't look at them. She didn't need to. Justice was happening in real time. The officers, who had tried to assert control through their power and prejudice, were now being held accountable. And Angela stood taller than ever, her dignity intact, her power never in question. As Angela left the station later that day, the crowd inside the store had dispersed, but a lingering feeling remained. A feeling of change, of justice, of power in the face of adversity. Angela's journey wasn't over. It had only just begun. She wasn't just fighting for herself. She was fighting for every person who had ever been silenced, ignored, or mistreated because of the color of their skin. Angela Whitaker was more than just the mayor. She was a symbol that no one, no matter their title, would ever let injustice stand. And she would continue to make her voice heard for as long as it took.